And Bristol, well, it's a good attacking platform, but it's still just the Fitzharding try, which were the first points in this game. Their only points as Kieran Marmion comes on. 63 minutes played. Bristol 7, Quins 15. Marmion on for Harry Randall at scrum half. And here is Marmion passing the ball to Williams. Van Rensburg, Grondona into the midfield. To the right they'll go. Williams, Ibatoy's got Revovo outside him. It's the offload out the back that Revovo wasn't expecting, and he's knocked it on. And then Dombrandt's going to try and storm away, tackle to ground in the 5-metre channel. Left-hand side. Quins going from defence to attack very, very quickly. And Bristol once more with their attacking play. Doing pretty terribly. That's a crossfield kick which, well, I wouldn't say it worked out, but they didn't lose the ball, which looked like they might do for Quins. Iskro back in field to the replacement Sean Kerr. And there's a knock on at the breakdown for Townsend, and Matt Garvey has his head in his hands alongside me.
You're 8 points up at a big event, and you're throwing wild passes deep in your 22 to floor, and then you're throwing wild kicks which almost bounce and go out. It's just, take your medicine, put the ball as far away from your sticks as possible. I get that's boring, and I get people listening to go, no, we like this expensive style of rugby. I understand it, but I imagine if you're a Quinn supporter, you'd be like, what are we doing?
There's a lot of that though here today, isn't there? Like even Bristol there, with it looked like they had a slight break down the right-hand side. Ibatoye, no look, one-handed offload back inside. Revovo knocks it on. It's been a really scrappy game.
You just almost want to say to Bristol, okay, for 3 or 4 phases, just simplify it. Just simplify it. Just carry hard, hold on to the ball. We're getting yardage. We've got the momentum. Let's just hold on to it, hold on to it, hold on to it. But yeah, is there any? It's hard, isn't it? Because they are so good at it. You know, you wouldn't, if the Harlem Globetrotters dropped a couple of balls, you wouldn't say, lads, stop with the tricks and the flicking out. It's like it's part of your DNA. So
how you play, yeah.
Yeah, but I think there is some times where you need to adapt to go, yeah, we are good at that. However, let's crack on.
Well, we've just had a little break in play. It's going to be Bristol getting us back underway with a scrum on the left-hand side. It's 5 metres in from the left touchline in the Quins half, in between 10 and 22. So another good attacking platform here for Bristol. Backs lined up to the right-hand side. Ibatoye is just on the inside shoulder of Jordan, then Williams, Van Rensburg, Reece Zammit, Revovo stretching the play out on that far touchline. Bristol 7, Harlequins 15. It has not been the blockbuster entertainment we were hoping for here. We can't lie about that, but it could be a blockbuster ending to this game. Bristol chasing the playoffs. Feel like it'd be so damaging.
What do you do? What do you do?
And they got a penalty from the scrum.
What do you do?
Marmion's just having a little look around and having a chat. I think the conversation was pretty short. Williams is going to kick this into the corner. It's a 2-score game.
I know.
Bristol will go and chase it. They will turn down the point. Wouldn't have been an easy kick, actually, would it? That is another part of it.
No, but that's the like. Is there a conversation to have with the kick and go, do you back yourself or not? Because if you miss it, then they're going to kick the ball back to you.
Yeah, well, immediately Williams was turning round and revving up the forwards once again. It has been a flat performance from Bristol up to this point.
It's a great kick to the corner, though. 6 metres.
Ogre throwing in. Luatua, they just get it wrong. Dombrandt's coming away with it, overthrown. Luatua got up slowly, and Harlequins have it back.
Great from Dombrandt there. Good carry. Could have carried on going, but he stayed inside the 22 so that Townsend could kick it out, but he chooses not to.
Ibatoye to Reece Zammit. Well, here there could be an opportunity for him, and his pass is really well picked up from Van Rensburg, and he then gets absolutely dumped, where you don't see many tackles like that anymore. Van Rensburg picked up and dumped backwards. Bristol still in possession. They're on the halfway there. Now they're on the halfway now. Surely they had a massive overlap for a moment there, didn't they? Yeah, and actually, Matt, I think you're right. The point you made earlier about Reece Zammit, and he's going to break through here, Reece Zammit. There we go. We'll come back to it. The point does still stand in just a moment. Marmion to the right-hand side. Luatua, Jordan, Revovo's outside him. Cuts Gets infield, tackled 10 metres short around his ankles. Started from the Reece Samet break. Joe Owen is here looking for a crossfield kick. Ibatoye skips around one and another. Can he get an offload back in field? He's tackled 5 metres short. Bristol with so many numbers to the left-hand side, but it is slow ball. Luatua, pass is dreadful, goes to ground. Van Rensburg has to pick up. Reece Samet now tackled back on the 22. Offload to Calavetti Ravovo once more. It's a mad old game, this one. Marmion, Van Rensburg. Bristol surely look like they just had to put it through the hands. They're going to come back for the penalty advantage, but Matt Garvey, how on earth have they not scored?
Wow, what scramble D from Quins. For a looked like Ibatoye was going to be in, looked like Samet was going to be in, looked like Ravovo was going to be in the corner. But the scramble D, the desire from this Quins team, where's that been all season?
Yeah.
Where has that been? Because that was unbelievable. You know, a lot of hands on heads, a lot of boys taking a breather because they are blowing Quins, and rightly so, because the tempo that Bristol are playing at now, it's almost like they've been kind of woken up a little bit. They look dangerous.
Well, it was better from an attacking
what are they going to do?
View. Much better from an attacking point of view and for Bristol, but they will feel they should have scored there.
What's the decision? Have they made one yet?
Another long break in play, isn't it? Because there's a player down just receiving a bit of medical attention. What I was going to say of Reece Samet before the break was, I think your point about his distribution as a 15, I think is a good one, because Bristol had the overlap, didn't they, there on the right hand side?
Yeah.
Poor pass. Van Rensburg did well to hold on right down by his laces, but then he immediately gets picked up and thumped backwards because the pass was so poor. They couldn't get it through the hands, and the opportunity for a brief moment disappeared.
Yeah, like you said, if it goes to hands, it's a 3-on-1, and you like to think Bristol would get some great advantage there, some distance on it, but just the clarity of play. He's thrown one to this side into touch, and he's thrown one to the floor. He is a better distributor than that. It's the thinking time for me. I think he'd rather give the ball in space on an edge and just back yourself. Just back yourself. Because I thought at one point, instead of passing, he was just going to go all the way around.
Yeah, well, I wonder whether when AJ McGinty and Sam Worsley are back, whether they would have one of them at 10, maybe Tom Jordan as the 15, and Reece Samet back onto the wing, possibly. So scrum here for Bristol.
Was this a penalty? They've chosen the scrum?
Yeah. Yeah, they've opted for the scrum here. And it's literally slap bang in the middle, in front of the posts, 5 metres from the try line. So backs to the left-hand side, backs to the right-hand side, options. Quins split 3 and 3 defensively.
It's an interesting call, that. You either go for the post or you do the tap and go.
Yeah, I do wonder whether they would have gone for the post. They haven't up to this point, have they?
No, but I mean, if you don't go for the post, why would you just go to the tap and go and...
rather than waste time.
Waste time for the scrum and risk it.
Yeah, true.
The way the scrums have been today, it's almost been a 50-50. It's a bit of a gamble.
Gone either way. So, Tom Jordan standing directly behind the scrum for Bristol. Well, it's rock solid, but they need to hook the ball here, Bristol. Trying to edge it forward. They have kicked it back into the
Luatua kicked it back in.
That's a free kick to Quins. Well, that is because Bristol actually won that ball, but they didn't hook it, and Townsend's going to go quickly, and they're going to kick downfield, but that's been blocked from Jordan. From the sublime to the ridiculous at the moment.
What's going on?
It comes back to Benson, so Quins actually still have it on the edge of the 22. But that came, Matt Garvey, from Bristol just not hooking it, not hooking the ball
and
back.
You could see the Bristol wingers talking to the touch judge here about they've kicked it. Luatua's put his hands in there. But oh God, I'm struggling to understand it. If I was a Quins coach, so you get the penalty, you don't kick it out, then you get charged down, and you kick the ball now it's Bristol's line, which could have been the same spot as your own ball.
Well, because it was a free kick though.
Oh, apologies, sorry.
Free kick, yeah. So, but even so, if you're Quins, you don't need to tap and go quickly here at the moment.
You're not chasing the game.
No. You can take your time, have a breather, kick to touch, take some time setting up the line-out. Instead, they kick and go and almost get charged down. Here's Tom Jordan for Bristol. Gabriel Ibatoye got Ogre outside of him, who tests the touchline, goes into touch. Good covering tackle it was from Sean Kurt.
If I was a forward, I'd be on that ball. Just don't do a quick throw. Let me catch my breath.
So a reminder, following us, Saracens, Northampton, Nick Heath and Topsy Ojo, your commentary team. That game kicking off at 6. And we'll be building up to that with the boys after this match.
Steve Lewiter looked relieved and he thought he was going off, and he's actually got the wrong number, so he's still on the pitch as Grondona goes off.
Yeah, Grondona goes off for another Grondona. Chawatama on as well. Yeah, Benjamin Grondona on for Santiago. And Lovejoy Chawatama on for George Kloska. Benson, left-footed kick for Quins, which goes right down the middle of the pitch. It's a really good kick, that. Couple of bounces. Ibatoy collects it. It looked like he was trying a spiral. It goes end over end and bounces into the hand of Benson at the back for Harlequins. They're going to run it back here. Fitzharding is there and over the ball, getting over the top of it. Bristol are going to make an absolute mess of this. They've won it back. I have no idea why Harlequins ran that backwards. Bristol always had the numbers, and now Bristol have the ball. Ogray it is. Getting through a lot of work, Gabe Ogray. Slow ball. Jordan. Owen. Have Quins just totally had Bristol's number defensively here, Matt?
Potentially, but they just keep giving them a lifeline. Like the decision to run it back. I feel like I'm being a really boring commentator and trying to promote a really boring brand of rugby, but I'm not. I'm just trying to... You're 8 points up, it's 10 minutes to go, and you're running it back and you get turned over. Just put the ball behind them.
Well, they did on that account. So Bristol were playing with it. The ball went to ground, and Quins have kicked downfield. Ogray will have to throw in at the line. It just feels to me that there's so many times where Bristol have tried to get into attacking shape, and they have just been met by an absolute wall of bodies. They have had such little luck in being able to break teams down, which actually they've been very good at this season generally, and it hasn't worked at all today.
For sure, yeah, you can't fault Quins' defence today. Even when the kick chase, I was looking at it a minute ago, they kicked it backfield. It was 5 Quins short at a wall in front of the receiver.
The pass doesn't go to hand to Tom Jordan. He runs away from one tackle. He's got players rushing up. Driscoll with a big tackle, I beg your pardon, on him there. Feels to me that Bristol are starting to run out of ideas here.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
With 8 minutes to play, I think the decision not to go for points earlier to make it a one-score game, I know with hindsight it's easy, but looks more and more foolish. As Marmion kicks the touch, it's going to be a Quins line out in the Bristol half. Feels like a long way back now for Bristol.
Yeah, I mean, Quins will be in no rush this line out. They look to slow it down. I think if Quins are going to win this, the man of the match should be the Quins defence coach, because they've been outstanding so far. And like you said, Bristol look a little bit like they've run out of ideas, but I think that's because of what Quins have done to them. It's almost like they've set a trap.
They've just spread themselves out, haven't they? So when Bristol have tried to work their little pivots and passes out the back through the midfield, there's always been Quins players there to gobble it up. As Bristol win the line out, they needed to. They're back in their own 22. I think they're going to have to go from deep here. Ibatoy
should have gone.
Didn't pass it. Really good clear out from Tom Jordan in there. Van Rensburg, Ravovo, what can they work here? Reece Samet, little kick in behind, is tackled as he kicks it. Knock on at the base, Marmion will scoop it up. Offload goes to ground. We'll come back for the original knock on against Quins, and it will be a Bristol put-in at the scrum. The clock will continue to run. 7.5 to go until full time. Bristol 7, Harlequins 15 in Cardiff. Far from a classic.
Yeah, Quins will eat this up. They're in the ref signal time off, but I think Ibatoy should have given that ball there. It looked like a 5-on-2 sort of thing. Just give the ball, but they've got some unbelievable ball runners. Ravovo, Ibatoy, Zamet, but they're not distributors. And you see, that's why you see a lot of teams that sometimes play a second 10 at 15, because they can open up. They can play almost 2 10s different side of the breakdown. Or they can open up defence with their run game and their pass game. It's not often really these days that you don't see that, do you?
No, exactly, more often than not, it's someone that can distribute from 15 as well.
Yeah. I think they've lacked that a little bit, but that may be down because of some of the injuries that they've got, Bristol, some of the ball players that are out.
Well, partly, definitely. I mean, they have played Reece Samet at 15 this season plenty of other times, but I think definitely today you have seen how sometimes that has its own issues. So Bristol put in at the scrum. They need to score, and you feel like they need to score pretty quickly. It's a 2-score game, 8 points in it. Bristol 7, Harlequins 15.
If they score quickly, I think what will happen is that Quins will start to panic a little bit. It's that, oh, here we go again. I've been in a situation like that. You've lost a few games on the bounce, you're having a really poor season, and you start to think, oh no, it's going to get away from us again. Then you make a silly decision and give away a penalty.
Well, that's a lovely move from Bristol. Ibatoy, loads of space. He's got Ravovo outside him and gives it to him. Ravovo so powerful through the tackles and goes to ground. Marmion back to the left-hand side. Jordan bounces off one tackle. The line speed from Quins, ferocious to prevent Bristol kind of keeping up that momentum. Marmion throws the dummy, has Ibatoy outside but takes the contact. It's good breakdown work from the Bears to keep hold of it. They're up to the 22 here, Bristol. 6.5 to go. Harding, Williams, Van Rensburg spreading it to the left. Puts a little kick in behind that Luatua's the man that is going to have to chase it. David scoops it up, offloads to Iskro. Van Rensburg tries to get over the top of it. Appeals for what he thought was a legal clear out. Nothing awarded, and Quins have the opportunity to slow this down and eventually kick to touch.
This is all they need to do. Just slow the clock down a little bit and kick it out. I don't know if there was a need for Van Rensburg to put the ball through.
Not when it was Luatua on the touchline chasing it. Quins kick to touch. The replacement scrum half, Jack Grant, who's making his Prem debut this afternoon. Jack Grant had one appearance for Quins up to this point, and he kicks clear. This will be an excellent result for Harlequins. For all that we may well criticise Bristol for their display here, for Quins of where they are, a team that have admitted they're basically preparing for next season, an inexperienced team. At the moment it looks like they've absolutely done a job on the Bears. Owen wins the line out. Marmion, they're going off the top, they have to. Van Rensburg into the midfield. Driscoll over the top trying to win it. Slow-ish ball. Fitz Harding to Ogre. It's a good carry from the hooker. Still going in that front row. Gabe Ogre. Walmore, it finds its way through a poor pass to Jordan. Luatua back to the left-hand side they go. They're in the 22 here, Bristol. 5 minutes to go here on TalkSport 2. Bristol 7, Harlequins 15. Off to Tottenham and Saracens Northampton after this. Penalty advantage for Bristol. Well, that will be interesting to see what they do. Surely they have to take the points unless they score a try. Luatua with the carry. Fitz Harding takes it on. He's tackled just a couple of metres short.
He's wasting seconds now, though.
Pick and go from the base. 4.5 minutes here remaining. And it's slow ball once more. Quins have spread themselves well defensively. Harding has Chawatama on his backside, but it's the replacement front row that has to get in to make sure he wins the ball. Ogre, little pop pass. Now here we go, James Williams back in field, beats one man, then he's tackled. Quick ball could be useful here for the Bears. Marmion then gets cleared out. He's appealing for a penalty. Bristol have got themselves to a pick and go even closer. Three and a half to go.
They go wide to Ibatoy, he's in.
So much space for Ibatoy. He's got over though, picking and going. Bristol have their score. Finally Bristol with the try. Their second of the game. Stephen Luatua, the man that has scored it. It's Bristol 12, Harlequins 15, conversion to come.
It's lifted the crowd. These last few minutes are going to be really interesting now. Bristol fans back on their feet, they can sniff it. It's a quick kick straight through the posts.
So 1 point game, Bristol 14, Harlequins 15, with just a couple of minutes to play.
Quins will just no rush to take this. They'll just get their line, they'll kick it as long as they possibly can and back their defence. Do what they've done, they've got no reason to change what they've done. They've been so successful today. Their defensive line has been so strong. And Bristol look a bit lost for words when they go wide, so they're going to have to go 80, 90 metres if they're going to get some points on the board.
Well, It's 3 minutes to go. I would imagine Quins here are going to go long from the kickoff. 1 point game on TalkSport 2. What an ending here in Cardiff. 45,000, by the way, in attendance for the big day out, and for Bristol, this big showpiece, taking one of their home games on the road. They've got 3 minutes to turn it into a victory, trailing by a single point. As Benson gets us back underway. They go long from the restart to the left-hand side. It's Fitzharding who collects it. And he's tackled just outside the 22.
It's a good hit by the front row replacement there.
Marmion, little switch around the fringes with Ogre, who has not stopped working. Here's Woolmore, the replacement loose head. Dombrandt is over that ball and he's won it, and it's a penalty to Quins.
Take the minute.
And they will kick this penalty.
Wow.
And we will have only about 30 seconds, you would imagine, remaining. In fact, it may pretty much take us up to full time here. At the breakdown, Dombrandt over the top of it.
It's not a question, surely.
And they will have their shot at goal.
Mind you, some of the decision making tonight, I would have been surprised if they'd gone tap and go or something like that.
Kick to the corner.
Yeah. Fair play. Fair play. I mean, there's a lot of Bristol fans already walking out.
Well, I have to brave the train home. I know that it can be an absolute nightmare here, so maybe a few people are saying we'll get early and beat the queues, or just head into the evening here in Cardiff, central Cardiff, and enjoy their time. But they're going to be sorely disappointed with what they've seen from Bristol here, unless we have an incredible finale. We've got 30 seconds, 25 seconds now on this shot clock.
Just make sure the kick goes over. Otherwise it's...
Well, it's what, about 30 metres out? In front of the posts. Benson standing over it would increase the score to 4 points as the clock continues to tick down. 5 seconds on it. Benson with the penalty, and it goes straight through. So Bristol 14, Harlequins 18.
So this is where I think they should have taken the points earlier. And even when they had the penalty advantage, I know they scored the try, but it was 60 seconds later. You know, you just take the advantage, go for a 50-50, put the ball in Ibatoi's hands in the corner, a little kick chase, something like that. But
well, Tom Jordan from this restart, then he's going to have to go short. It's exactly what he's going to do. Joe Owen collects it. That is a brilliant restart from a Bristol point of view. Frustration for Quins because they have given Bristol a window. James Williams, Van Rensburg, Jordan, quick hands to Reece Zammit. Beats one man and then is taken to ground. Bristol come in a strong clear out. They'll continue to work it to the short side, but James Williams doesn't like what he sees and runs back in field. Marmion, Owen, Ibatoye, pass it on to Reece Zammit. It's a really scrappy ball. It's gone to ground. In fact, it wasn't Owen. Owen's the man that scoops it up now. It was the replacement in that second row, George Taylor for Bristol. Chawatama, Ibatoye running from deep. Van Rensburg. Quick hands to Ravovo, down the short side. He's kicked in behind Ravovo. It's gone straight out. That's the end of the game. Well, what's he doing there?
what's the ref saying? Why is it?
I think they're just checking, but that is the full-time whistle.
Wow.
Calavetti Ravovo decides to kick it, and that will be that. Harlequins win it. Bristol are beaten on their big day out. They will lose ground in the race for the playoffs, and that top four now, there is distance between Exeter in fourth and Bristol. Well, Matt Garvey, we can't sugarcoat it. It wasn't a great game, but a quite amazing ending.
Yeah, I'll go back to the point at the start around the motivation of the game. You know, Bristol, you're trying to track down top four. You're trying to go to where you haven't really reached the last few years. You've been close, but you've not got there. That's the motivation. It's all to play for. You close the gap on Exeter. You try to get in the top four. Quins, you've got nothing to lose. You've got a young, inexperienced side that's gone out and put on a display. And defensively, they were unbelievable today for me.
Is that where they won it, do you think, ultimately? They barely gave Bristol a sniff, did they?
Yeah, I don't even think the penalty count was quite high. I mean, I don't know off the top of my head, but I think they were quite good there. They were quite careful. They didn't give them free entry. There was a couple of penalties from the scrums, but I think in general play, their defence was masterclass today. I think there's a few headaches maybe for selection now when Quins get some big boys back, because those boys there put on a hell of a show, and that'll feel like a weight lifted off their shoulders today. They could have thrown it away. There were some moments of madness, which I think they'll laugh about now on Monday rather than cry about, but fair play to Quins. Bristol just were a bit flat from the start.
How damaging a defeat is this for Bristol? I mentioned the top four, so Bristol will remain on 37 points. Exeter are on 45, so it's 8 points, 2 wins. And already, I know there are games still to play, but there's not loads.
No.
Already, you're leaving yourself. You don't have too much more room for manoeuvre in terms of getting into the top four. Yeah,
I mean, I'm not knowing their fixtures off the top of my head. They're going to have to go to some difficult places and put out some big performances now. But they've made a mountain of it. You know, this was a team that if you'd started well today, Quins would have retreated themselves. A few inexperienced players, and we questioned it at the start. And I questioned it at the start, and I got it completely wrong. Fair play to Quins, fair play to the travelling supporters in the corner of the stand over the far side. They've come to see their boys put on a shift, and you know, I know they've parked it, but what momentum that gives them next week going into a European quarter-final, or last 16, sorry.
Probably going to make so many changes though, aren't they? Is it fair when you're watching that and you're looking at the heart and the desire and the effort to scamper back and retreat in defence, all that sort, is it for this season?
Absolutely. And do you know what? The players have got to take a bit on the chin for that, because no coach goes, oh, I want you to chase harder today, or I want you to commit to the breakdown a little bit more, or I want you to scrum harder, or when there's a more defence, I want you to hit harder. They've been telling that all year. What these boys have now shown themselves and what they've shown that coaching group is that you can do it. And Toby Booth, one of the I don't know what his job title, consultant, forwards coach, whatever he is now, he always talks about it in ZTA, zero talent actions. What they've done today is the basics very well. The stuff that doesn't require talent, requires heart, requires effort, they've been brilliant at it, and they are deserved winners.
And from a Bristol point of view, doubly frustrating, I would imagine, that for a lot of this season we've been talking about Bristol, and wow, how great is it that they're doing what they're doing with the injuries they've had, that they could have easily fallen out of the playoff race. They were right in the playoff race, and then all of a sudden it hasn't fully come unstuck yet, but actually at a point in the year where they are starting to have a few guys back, you feel like after the Six Nations, defeat to Leicester, all right, at Welford Road, no shame in that, really good game as well. They didn't play badly, but they lost to Leicester, and then poor performance and defeat here. That a lot of that good work earlier on in that campaign has come a little bit unstuck.
Yeah, for sure. I think if we go forward 3 or 4 games, I think Bristol will still be in contention. I think they'll bounce back, but they could be in a position where they held that 4 spot, and they were looking over their shoulder. They're looking up, not looking backwards. And yeah, I think it's just been a point where they've done so well for so long with the injuries they've had. At some point, the dam had to break, and you know, psychologically as a player, I don't know. Do you look at Quins' results and think, oh, this should be an easy win, like we did on paper? You know, there's always a question when you play a team. If you play Bath now or Northampton, your preparation in the week is spot on. You spend an hour looking at Bath's lineouts. Do you spend an hour looking at Quins' lines? Maybe you spend the same time, but do you spend the same amount of depth doing it? Is your concentration there? So, I don't know, but while it's flat for Bristol and it's Bristol's day, Quins have robbed them.
Well, next challenge for Bristol, to lose away. Last 16.
Easy. Pick yourselves up, you'll be fine. Wow.
Yeah, what a challenge for them. Well, I'll tell you what, Matt, we'll leave it there because we need to head over to the guys at Tottenham. Gallagher Prem, it's a mad old league, isn't it?
It's great, isn't it?
It's amazing. It's a brilliant league, but no one expected this. Well, probably partly this result, but also the nature of the game we saw today. Like, it was so different to what we were probably expecting.
Absolutely, yeah. We hoped, I guess, it would be fireworks and it'd be flair in there, but you know, the Quins have come here with a tight knit. They've battled hard, they've worn it out, and they've got what they needed. They've got the win.
Great stuff.
Thank you for having me.
Back in the car for you.
Indeed.
Beat the traffic.
I think it's already there.
Secret parking spot, isn't it? That's what Matt was telling me before. And Matt, always a pleasure. Great to have you with us, and we'll have you back in the commentary booth with us in the not too distant future, I'm sure. We'll be heading back over to Tottenham and North London very, very shortly. We'll be joining Nick Heath and Topsy Ojo. They're our commentary team ahead of Saracens Northampton. The full-time score in Cardiff, 2 tries apiece, but it is Quins, the away side, that got the victory over Bristol by 18 points to 14.
Gallagher Prem live on TalkSport 2 with Funding Circle, supporting the supporters with fast, fair and hassle-free business finance solutions. Find out more at fundingcircle.com.
Boxing's future heavyweight champion meets a man who's never been knocked out. Moses Atoma versus Jermaine Franklin, Saturday, March the 28th, only on DAZN.
Go from bucket list to booked with EasyJet. Get package holidays from £319 per person and flights from £32 one way. So stop dreaming, stop scrolling, stop umming and ahhing. Book now at easyjet.com and get your holidays sorted today. Get out there. Selected dates and flights April to September. Limited availability. Holidays ATOL protected. T's and C's apply.
People at work supported me by not treating me like somebody who was going through treatment. Treatment sucks. Cancer sucks. Being engaged with work really helped to, I just knew I was going to beat this thing.
Research shows that what's important for patients' best outcomes is not only the treatment we give, but the ability for them to continue their lives, which often means continuing to work and have purpose for what they're doing.
Learn more and sign the pledge at workingwithcancerpledge.com.
You got a little wager with Paddy Power on this one then? Yeah, mate. Big man to score anytime. I'm backing him. And it looks like it's the big man who's got to score from the bench, pal. Oh, fear not, punter, because with Paddy Power's super sub, your bet carries over to the player coming on.
Y'all ready for this?
So now, all subs are super. Paddy Power. Football, you gotta love it. Valid on selected leagues and markets only. Pre-match and in-play bets on qualifying player outcome selections only. T's and C's and exclusions apply. 18+. BeGambleAware.org.
With a Travis Perkins trade account, you open the door to big trade deals every single month. And we've gone big on landscaping. Right through March, get Marshall's standard block paving for only £18 per square metre. Join the club and get this and other big landscaping trade deals this March with your trade account. Travis Perkins, doing what matters for the trade. All prices exclude VAT at 20%.
I can get my home insurance from just £133. They've made it easy for me to get a great price. And their 24/7 emergency helpline lets me look after what matters to me, because insurance is simple when it's me and LV.
No wonder we're rated excellent on Trustpilot. Get your quote today at lv.com. 10% of new customers paid £133 or less July to December 2025. LV General Insurance is part of Allianz.
Chicken dip has just landed at Domino's. Succulent tenders, wings, and boneless bites, but that's not all. There are 9 dips to choose from, which begs the question, is it chicken with dips on the side or dips with chicken on the side? Dip into a world of flavour with Chicken Dip, new from Domino's.
Prem live on TalkSport 2.
The Gallagher Prem live on TalkSport 2. Today we've been at Villa Park, here where I am in Cardiff, and now our final match of the day heads to North London, the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, as Saracens host Northampton.
Ball out to the right-hand side. Farrell finds Bracken. Full race for the corner. Steps inside his man and scores. Saracens have another try. Ball just stands up on end though, and it invites Kaluri onto it. He's got the loose ball. He's got through the last tackle, and this one is the hat-trick. I said it earlier. When he's hot, just ride that wave.
Obviously, a bit of the aura has gone, definitely, and also I think they're not as consistent as they used to be.
It's a big occasion for us. You know, we were very disappointed in the way that we played and performed last week. You know, it wasn't us in any way, shape or form.
And here comes Sage the other way. Hendy it is, over the halfway, up to the 22. Pollock inside, gives the ball to Pollock. Pollock will score. Northampton for the bonus points to Robbie Smith. Lovely angle from Freeman, who's straight through, completely untouched, and puts the ball down. How do you like those apples?
That consistency and that ability to show week in, week out that we're capable of mixing it with anyone, I think is probably the most pleasing.
This is not a foregone conclusion here on TalkSport 2.
Well, what does our final game of the day have in store? Can Saracens keep themselves still in the race for the top 4? Will Northampton continue to show their credentials in terms of that top 4? I'm Alfie Reynolds, delighted to have your company. I am here still in Cardiff at the Principality Stadium, where if you missed it, Harlequins beat Bristol Bears 18 points to 14. The Lawnmowers are now out there on the Principality pitch, a few players still milling around, but it was the unexpected, a Quins side that have been, well, let's be honest, pretty awful in the Premiership this season. They produced one of their best performances of the campaign, and they have beaten Bristol and put a almighty spanner in the works for Bristol's push for the playoffs. Let's head over though to North London. The Tottenham Hotspur Stadium is where our third game of the day comes from. Saracens against Northampton. Your commentary team for this one is going to be the former London Irish winger Topsy Ojo, and he's going to be alongside your commentator Nick Heath, and Nick has all the team news for us. Good afternoon, Nick.
Good afternoon, Alfie. You might have the Lawnmowers at the Principality. We've got Dizzy Rascal strutting his stuff around, well, what was the centre circle, of course, here at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. The lights are going, the fans are pouring in. It is brilliant. It, of course, may be the showdown at this stadium, but it might as well be called the last chance saloon for Saracens for any hopes of a top 4 place finish. That chastening result, 9 tries to Bath last week, seen Mark McCall make 4 changes, brings back the England and British and Irish Lions captain Maro Itoje for this key clash. Well, star prop for the Guinness Six Nations, Rhys Carray's brought in 2 international class players to bolster the front 5. Andy Onyama Christie's promoted from the bench. Charlie Bracken is back at scrum half, but the biggest Saracen selection, given his value and commitment to the club, has got to be the 100th of Elliot Daly at fullback. He'll be hoping the showdown is the showcase for a change in Saracens' form, having won just 2 of their last 7 Gallagher Prem games. For Northampton Saints, well, as if one to get over one on Sarries before a ball's kick, Phil Dowson brings back 5 internationals. Among them, the man who signed with Eddie Hearn this week, the blonde bombshell Henry Pollock. At fly half, Finn Smith, and on the right wing, Tommy Freeman. George Furbank, further international class to captain the side at fullback. Saracens have qualified for the playoffs 13 out of the last 16 seasons. This is uncharted territory. You might even say it's bonkers.
Yeah, well, the Gallagher Prem, it's bonkers. We could just put that on the poster every single week, couldn't we? Alongside Nick, as I mentioned, is going to be Topsy Ojo. Topsy, first of all, just in terms of that team news, how pleasing for a big showpiece game like this that you've got both sides that are so strong. Internationals coming back for both sides today.
It's exactly what you want. You know, this has been a big day for Prem Rugby, taking advantage to showcase the best of itself, the best of its stars. So as much as it's off the back of a Six Nations, you almost plead with the clubs that they play ball and all their internationals are out on show. So the fact that we're able to welcome so many back for this fixture is huge for the Prem in general, but of course for Saracens, who are desperate for a win to keep them in touch with that top four, because as we touched on earlier when we caught up, they lose today and it is a long gap to those teams above them. So it's a big game all round, and yeah, they're going to need every ounce of Dizzy Rascal energy, home crowd energy, this Tottenham Hotspur Stadium to try and get them over the line.
Yeah, Topsy, we've worked together enough, particularly over the last few months, whether it be Lions or Six Nations, that sometimes, I like to be glass half empty and give you a problem and ask how big of a problem is this. But if I look at the result that I've just watched here of Bristol, really poor Bristol performance, by the way, defeat to Harlequins. Saracens, will see how they get on, but we all know how good Northampton are. At the end of this weekend, we could be looking at the table and thinking the top four's already wrapped up, couldn't we?
Yeah, absolutely. The top four currently are separating themselves from the pack, and we know with this league things can happen. I was keeping an eye on that Bristol game, and say Bristol just weren't at the races, but as we've discussed over the last couple of months and back into the summer, if you're a percentage or two off, you'll get beaten. You'll absolutely get beaten. And actually, coincidentally, this fixture last year, Harlequins came here in not a good place and stunned Saracens again. So there is evidence of that happening. Saracens will just be hoping that, especially given what happened last weekend when they took on Bath and got a bit of a hammering, that they're able to bounce back and respond in kind.
Well, this is the Gallagher Prem Live on TalkSport 2 with Funding Circle. We make your finance goals our business. Find out more at fundingcircle.com. Let's hear now from the Saracens camp. Ahead of kickoff, the hooker Jamie George joined Sam Matterface on TalkSport yesterday to discuss how important weekends like this are, with club rugby receiving greater attention.
It's exactly what we want to be trying to do with the game at the minute. I think there's a lot of talk about how much interest there was off the back of the Six Nations. Obviously, it didn't go so well for us with England, but I thought it was one of the best tournaments, the best competitions, the best Six Nations that has been for a long time. So, I feel like the interest in rugby union at the minute is very high, and we need to try and be able to transfer that into the Prem now. So, showcases like this and the opportunity to play at amazing stadiums like Villa Park, which I'm an Aston Villa fan, so it'd probably be the only time that I wish that I was a Gloucester or Leicester player. It's a great opportunity for us to play on the biggest stages, and it'd be the closest thing that we can get to international rugby on the club stage, I suppose.
And the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium for you, and Saracens coming off a heavy 62-15 loss to Bath last week. They're facing the league leaders, the Northampton Saints. It's a massive ask. Is this bonanza atmosphere exactly what your group needs?
Yeah, I think, we love playing at the Tottenham Stadium. We play there once a year. It's a big occasion for us. We were very disappointed in the way that we played and performed last week. It wasn't us in any way, shape or form. So I think regardless of what field we were playing on, we'd be looking for a great reaction. But I think it's brilliant that we're able to then put that out on, in front of hopefully 45,000 fans at the Tottenham Stadium.
Jamie George speaking to Sam Matterface on TalkSport earlier on this week. Topsy Ojo back at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Jamie George there spoke about the occasion, the kind of big match, the focus, the hype all of around it. How healthy is the Prem right now, do you think, when you look at the whole day we've had today? Villa Park, Cardiff, Tottenham, big games, big crowds. A really good reflection, isn't it, on where the league is?
Yeah, look, it's a tale of almost two stories. It tells you that the league is in a position whereby it can take games on the road and it can still sell decent, healthy tickets wherever it goes. Jamie touched on Saracens have done this for a few years now, previously at Wembley Stadium, and they found a formula now where this one-off game worked for them. And other clubs in the Premier are trying to do the same. Harlequins have their 2 fixtures at the Allianz Stadium. Bristol have now done a couple at the Principality. So that tells you that there is appetite to take the game further afield, to take it to new audiences, to grow the league and the attendance. I guess it's now, can every club do same? I think that's the ambition. Can you get to a point whereby all 10 clubs are capable of having a showpiece fixture up and down the country? Could Red Bulls take theirs to St James's Park and things like that? So you're trying to build something, because, like I say, the clubs that have done it for a few years now and have had a head start are in a really healthy place. And if you can create an environment where all the clubs can do that, then yeah, you'd say absolutely that the Prem is thriving. So really good to see that the game. Really good to see healthy numbers supporting the league, and yeah, long may it continue.
And how worrying if we look back at Saracens from a week ago, Topsy? Again, Sam asked Jamie about it there. That defeat to Bath, how worrying from a Saracens point of view was that?
It's worrying if they don't respond today. That can happen in the league. You know, we've seen some scores where you go, hang on, what's happened there? But as we touched on earlier, that can just be 1 or 2%. You want to see a response. If there isn't a response today, that's when you worry about, right, are there certain things becoming a trend? What's happening that we're not going into the game with the right intent? What's going on that we're not as physical as we should be, as accurate as we should be? When the worries become a trend, that's when you start looking at the bits and pieces and thinking, where are we? So today is set up as almost the perfect response. Big game for Saracens, the showdown at home. There's going to be a healthy crowd. Team sitting top of the Prem at the minute. So if you knock them off and you come through it, you think, okay, we can attack the rest of the season. If Saints come here and win, and on top of that, if they win well, then you're looking at the Saracen side and going, right, what does the future hold for us? Because we know how successful they've been over the years, but in recent seasons, they've not been able to compete with those teams above them, the likes of Saints, the likes of Bath, and they'll want to make sure that they don't lose touch with those guys going forwards.
And what you would say as well is this game here, you know, Matt Garvey and I were speaking about it beforehand, and we didn't really think Harlequins would be able to come here and win today. We thought, well, you never know, it's Quins, they could throw a few punches or whatever, but when you looked at the two teams, you thought that Bristol would win it easily, and then all of a sudden it's Harlequins that are walking away from Cardiff with the victory. So on any given weekend, Topsy, in the Prem, you just never know.
Absolutely, and that's it. I mean, was listening to you guys talk about Harlequins and the season that they have. You know, they've almost said that, look, we've written off the league, our focus is on Europe, but actually using today to lay down a marker for that big Champions Cup tie next weekend, absolutely huge. And again, you talk about the things that make a difference. You know, it wasn't a Quins performance where we say, you know, they scored 4 or 5 tries and they moved the ball. It was dogged, it was resilient, it was about defence, it was about staying in the fight, winning the physical exchanges, and they did that. And if you can do that, that gives you a starting point. It gives you something to work towards, and then you can add all the glossy stuff on top. So for them, it's brilliant. And as we touched on, you know, looking at these two teams today, Saracens and the Saints, you know, Saracens will probably be saying, especially off the back of last weekend, physically we need to impose ourselves today. We need to get stuck into this Northampton Saints team. We need to slow down their tempo. We need to impose ourselves, and if they can do that, they give themselves a chance of winning this.
Well, brilliant stuff. We'll be back with Topsy and Nick very, very shortly. Kick-off just under 15 minutes away in Tottenham. Saracens hosting Northampton Saints. The third game of the day here on Talk Sport 2. The full-time score, just as a reminder, in the earlier matches, it finished between Leicester and Gloucester. Gloucester 17, Leicester Tigers 36. Here in Cardiff, it was Bristol Bears 14, Harlequins 18. Really quick break. The other side of this, it's going to be kick-off in North London between Saracens and Northampton.
Get updates on the teams and squads, plus all the latest betting odds. All it takes is just one tap. Kill boredom dead with the TalkSport app. The TalkSport app. Hear, watch and scroll unbeatable content from the world's biggest sports radio station. Whenever you want, wherever you want. Available from the App Store now. Terms and conditions apply.
TalkSport Podcast League. Outspoken with White and Jordan.
Listen to the wherever you want with Outspoken, the podcast from TalkSport.
I still think there's a lot of questions that need to be answered. All killer, no filler conversation.
Did you say that he should be investigated by trading standards?
That doesn't pull any punches.
Yeah, because he was rubbish.
Outspoken with Jim Mighty White and Lord Simon Jordan.
That's a bit over the top, but there we are.
Out now.
Listen or download for free from your favourite podcast portal.
It's a snappy Sunday afternoon of WSL football.
Live on TalkSport 2.
A goal to celebrate! Chelsea go head-to-head with Villa. Breakneck build-up from 11:45. Kick-off 12 noon.
And that settles it. Sunday afternoon, the Women's Super League on frenetic football manifestation. TalkSport 2.
On Track. Tuesday afternoon from 2 on TalkSport 2. Keep ahead of all the action in the world of motorsports.
He's shown that you don't need to win from pole position.
Extended hard-revving roundups, in-depth racing analysis, and big-name interviews.
If I'd gone 1.5 tenths slower, I would have been P10 on the grid. So it's so tight.
TalkSport 2 rounds up the biggest stories and the latest racing rumors.
Championship points are more vital than ever.
On Track. Tuesday afternoon from 2 on TalkSport 2.
Charge down your evening.
The Gallagher Prem.
Live on TalkSport 2.
Gallagher Prem live here on TalkSport 2. I'm Alfie Reynolds, still sat here in Cardiff, the Principality Stadium slowly emptying. The roof opening, it's blue skies, it's sunny overhead, but all our attention now is on North London. It's on the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. It's Saracens Northampton. Kickoff in 10 minutes time and it's fast approaching. So now let's get the latest odds with William Hill.
In the Zone on TalkSport 2. Brought to you by Final One Standing from William Hill. 18 plus gambleaware.org. Terms and conditions apply.
So Saracens, the home side, as they face Northampton. Saracens to win with William Hill is 11-10. Northampton Saints to win is 3-4. The draw is 20-1. If you're interested in the try scorers market, Max Malins is at evens. Jamie George is 11-10. Tommy Freeman is at 4-5, and Henry Pollock is evens as well. There are a couple of price boosts for you. Saracens to win and each team to score over 2 tries is now 2-1. Northampton Saints to score first and the last try is now 3-1. That's all thanks to William Hill. 18 plus, gambleaware.org.
In the Zone on TalkSport 2. Brought to you by Final One Standing from William Hill. 18 plus gambleaware.org. Terms and conditions apply.
Well, we've heard from the Saracens camp. Let's now hear from the Saints Director of Rugby, Phil Dowson. With his side currently sitting top of the Gallagher Prem table, he reflected on the journey they've been on over the past year.
Short synopsis of our season last year is we had the quality to do it. On occasion, the European run would back that up, but we just simply weren't consistent enough. That was something we went after from pre-season onwards, with regards to everyone in the squad being capable of doing their job, playing away from home, and how we had to get more points away from home. We've done that already this season. So that consistency and that ability to show week in, week out that we're capable of mixing it with anyone, I think is probably the most pleasing. And other than the Bristol game, there hasn't been a game where we haven't really been at it.
Yeah, Phil Dowson, the Northampton Saints Director of Rugby, speaking there. Let's head back to North London. Nick Heath and Topsy Ojo, our team in position. Topsy, if I can bring you in on this, what's changed for Saints? Because they were a team that won a Premiership title. Then last year, their defence of that title was very disappointing, albeit they got to a Champions Cup final. And now they're right back at the top of the table once more. So what's changed for Northampton, do you think?
It was a simple formula for them in that for most of the Champions Cup campaign, they had their England internationals fit, whereas in the league, especially at the start of the season, Alex Mitchell and Finn Smith in particular were missing for large chunks of that. So by the time they got those boys back and fit, they had such a mountain to climb already that it was just a bit too much, especially given they were defending champions. But it worked well for them, of course, in the Champions Cup, going all the way to the final and losing narrowly to Bordeaux. So they built a really high-class squad with some amazing players that feature prominently now for England. And of course, when those guys are away now, they've got sufficient depth that they can handle it. It's helped them get to where they are so far. But to go all the way, to go to the depths to win the top prize, those guys have to be there. They have to be there in fixtures like this, where you want to go after a game and pick up points. And you also have to know that you're not going to have them for certain fixtures, and you still need to pick up points on those occasions as well. So having your biggest pieces on the board, your best players, is absolutely huge, and Saints have managed that much better this year than they did last.
And it's really congested at the top of the table, I know that, in terms of Northampton are first at the moment, 48 points, and Bath second, 46, and Leicester third on 46, and Bath yet to play this weekend. How serious a challengers are Northampton, do you think, to Bath? Because everyone speaks about Bath, they're the defending champions, they've got the best strength and depth in the league, you expect them to win another title. Do you think that Northampton are the closest team to Bath and the team that have the best chance of being able to prevent them going back to back?
Of the current top four, yeah, I would say so. I mean, I absolutely wouldn't discount Leicester Tigers on their day. I mean, they are hot on the heels, and actually, if they could get a home semi-final, if they could pick one of these two, given how close the points are, I wouldn't bet against them at all. But yeah, Bath are the team to beat, but Saints, as the most previous winners, given what we know that they can do, I think they will pose Bath the most questions if it was a one-off shootout, especially in the final. So they're the two, really. They're the standard bearers at the minute, and everybody else is trying to catch up. So a lot of rugby left to be played, and the fact that that top four is so congested actually is really good, because if you're the Chiefs or you're Leicester Tigers who are trying to kind of make that gap up, you're just hoping. It only takes one slip up at the minute. We are right there to strike, and again, it could come down to who gets that home semi-final. So there's a lot to play for, and it starts here this evening.
Yeah, I love that the top four is so congested. I do fear, as we touched upon throughout our coverage today, of what sort of race we have for the playoffs more generally. I think it's already starting to look like that you kind of know the teams that are going to be there. But you're right, home field advantage in the semi-finals is absolutely massive, and I think there's a number of teams there that on their day, certainly at home, are incredibly difficult to beat. So let's see what happens. I wanted to ask you really quickly about a couple of players, Topsy, before we have to get into the game. Henry Pollock, I mean, we've been speaking about him so much over the last year or 18 months anyway, the way in which he's burst onto the scene. Signed with Matchroom, it was announced yesterday. Eddie Hearn's kind of stable. It's quite an interesting development for the game, isn't it, there?
Yeah, I mean, it was met with a lot of fanfare, and you know, I think everyone knows about Eddie Hearn and his ability to promote, and actually, I think he was at a game previously, wasn't he, and he said he couldn't recognise anybody, and here he goes and signs one of rugby's biggest rising stars. I mean, it's an incredible coup, actually, and it will be really interesting to see what a promoter like Eddie Hearn can do with a character, a personality, a player of the quality of Henry Pollock. Like, look, Henry is still so young, but the fact that he's managing to create such a wave at such a young age hopefully sets a standard for what we would like to see in the future of the sport. So I think we'll be keeping eyes, ears, everything on this one, because it's a huge story in the world of rugby, and with a game that's trying to grow and reach new audiences and kind of break away from this, look, it is such a team game, but how do we create stars within a team? This is going to be a story that we're going to want to keep a close eye on. So huge news for Henry, huge news for Matchroom, and huge news for rugby in general.
Yeah, 100%. Really, really quickly, Topsy. Elliot Daly, 100th appearance for Saracens. What a servant and what a player he's been.
Yeah, huge servant. I mean, what a find, especially, you know, coming over from Wasps and settling into this team, winning domestic titles, European titles. I mean, what, 80, 90 odd caps for England, I think, as well. So played a lot of rugby. So to hit this milestone is huge, and they're going to need all that experience today, because this is a big game for Saracens. The 4, at least, if not 5 points, are all that matter. Big game.
How do you see it going here, Topsy?
That's the question. I mean,
horrible question, isn't it?
I see Saints winning. I do see Saints winning. I just think that they're in such a sweet spot. This is a wonderful stadium to come and play as the away side. All the pressure is on Saracens to maintain that push for top 4. So there might be a bit of edge, a bit of nerves, whereas for Saints, they can just really enjoy this occasion, play their rugby on a lovely surface. It's made for the away team to do the classic smash and grab.
Well, 2 games down and 1 more to go. How is it all going to unfold? We've brought you the 2 matches already, and it is a blockbuster to finish off our coverage here on TalkSport 2. Let me hand you over and leave you in the company of the former England and London Irish winger Topsy Ojo, alongside your matchday commentator, Nick Heath.
Thank you, Alfie. The Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, well, it's in full noise. It is the original club of North London. Saracens have got the big flags out on the pitch down below us. It is quite the stadium here. There is a full, large stand over to our right as we look, as the Saracens fans have come in, and as Northampton Saints begin to make their entrance to this grand stadium. What an occasion this promises to be. We've had Dizzy Rascal out spinning the hits and bringing us all of his urban flavours to get everybody right in the mood as the lights and the fire cannons get going. George Furbank will lead this Northampton Saints side, knowing that they are in pole position at the top of this Gallagher Prem table. They're top after 11 rounds, having won the last 5 clashes in the competition. They left victorious when the sides clashed earlier in the league this term, running out 43-31 winners at Sint Stadium at Franklin's Gardens back in round 5, thanks to a 4-try haul from Tommy Freeman. One of 5 internationals back into the Saints lineup for the clash here, starting on the wing alongside James Ram, while George Furbank captains the side from fullback. It's an unchanged centre partnership. Rory Hutchison, Tom Litchfield staying in the midfield, while in-form scrum half Archie McParland's joined by England's Finn Smith in the half-back berths as the fly half makes his return from international duty. Curtis Langdon, the only change to the Saints' front row, and Luke Green. But we've got a moment now to mark, because he's joining the fans out on the field, leading the side for his 100th appearance. Re-signed a new deal this week as well. 76 caps for England, 17 Lions Tour appearances, his 4th showdown. In an England shirt, Elliot Daly has beaten 108 rugby teams worth of players, which is quite a feat. Let's just run you through the rest of that Saints lineup. The forwards, as we mentioned, Tom Lockett shifting into the second row after featuring at flanker in last weekend's victory over Newcastle. And then we look to the back row. Number 8, Henry Pollock, featuring in the black, green and gold for the first time since January after making his England start during the Six Nations. Josh Kemeny making his return from concussion to join Tom Pearson. But we've got the Saracens side out with us. Chance to run through their lineup. 4 changes to the side that lost to Bath Rugby last Friday. One of them coming in the front row. Rhys Carré returning to the pack, fresh from Six Nations duty, joining Theo Dan and Marcus Street. Captain Maro Itoje returns at a crucial time, partnering Hugh Tizard in the second row. Theo McFarland keeps his place on the blind side. Andy Onyama Christie, promoted from the bench to open side. Tom Willis completes the pack at number 8. Charlie Bracken returns at scrum half, partnering Owen Farrell, who marshals the side from fly half. The rest of the back line remains unchanged. Tompkins and Sinti, the midfield pairing. It's Rotimi Shegan and Tobias Elliott on the wings, and Daly with the landmark 100 at the back. The 60th Premiership meeting between Saracens and Northampton Saints. It is the 5th showdown to take place at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. The smoke clears, and Owen Farrell sticks the little short kick-off game ball into Northampton Saints territory. But the first job is going to be Hutchinson, who takes it, manages to thread his way through a fairly nonplussed couple of Saracens bodies to kick it downfield and nearly have a run in over the goal line. That was a hairy start. Topsy Ojo.
Wow, I mean, lovely high-hanging kick-off by Owen Farrell. Theo McFarland, basketball skills and all, taps it back. Rory Hutchinson first to the ball, nudges it through, and less than 10 seconds, goal line dropout to Saracens. I mean, What a turnaround. If we're going to continue the game at this tempo, I think we're in for a good one.
I can let you know that there was the Saracens women's game that took place here earlier. Saracens won that comfortably, 54 points to 0 in the end. The Sale Sharks came firing out the blocks before Saracens then suddenly dominated the rest of the match. The men would be hoping that that is the case, given this fast start we're seeing from Northampton Saints against them now. Back in to the 22, building to a head of steam. It's Henry Pollock who's got his hands on it, just inside the 22, over to the right-hand side here. And Pollock will get them going again. Saints looking with Finn Smith. Opts to go for the carry that time. Then it comes through the hands again, finding their way to the left. James Ram, he's managed to step round one. He's stepping to another, 5 metres out now and driving towards the line, 2 metres short. Saracens consider turtling them over the line to try and get another goal line dropout. But it's Northampton Saints still right on the line here. A penalty advantage being played. Pollock's reached for the line as the ruck crashes over, but held up. We'll encourage our referee for the afternoon to bring them back for the penalty. It's Anthony Woodthorpe. And it's going to be Manny Yogan who steps over it. In fact, it's Henry Pollock who runs, and they're going to take the quick tap here. Such is the belief in this Northampton Saints side. This is off at breakneck speed, Topsy Ojo. It's into midfield. It's Finn Smith firing it back. That was a good read from the man on his 100th, Elliot Daly, who came straight out to shut that down. Northampton Saints still in the middle of the park, in the 22, feeding it away. Luke Green, the man to send it back on his 4th career Premiership start, but it's been stolen by Saracens. And a chance to try and find their way out of the 22. Charlie Bracken will just offer it up to his forwards to give the first carry and earn him a couple of metres, as I'm sure Saracens will be looking to get a real breather here at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Sent it into the air. They're not going to find touch here. The chase is on. It's just been knocked on in the end by Tobias Elliott, and it pops up, but it's going to result in the scrum for Northampton Saints just inside that 15-metre channel inside the Saracens half.
And breathe. So a couple of really important interventions. Elliot Daly with one. Lovely read, comes off the wing in that fullback position, hits George Furbank, his opposite man, stops them. Saints will retain possession with a scrum on the left-hand side, just inside that Saracens half, but man, this game has started at breathtaking speed.
So we've come to enjoy from the Gallagher Prem, live on TalkSport. Just over 3 minutes gone. The referee is wanting this scrum to just get reset. Henry Pollock just stands waiting at the back, hands on hips, mouth guard between the lips. News this week, as we heard discussed a few moments ago, between Alfie and Topsy of his signing for Matchroom. Eddie Hearn talked about being at Twickenham, enjoying his experience there. That was clearly the prelude to what was announced towards the end of this week. Rugby looks for ways out of its normal confines to grow and become a more global sport. Well, signings like Pollock's to Matchroom be the sorts of things that might make that happen. Northampton Saints coming down the centre of the park here. No score yet in the showdown. Penalty goes the way of Northampton Saints. Owen Farrell looks ruefully at our referee, Anthony Woodthorpe, who is not going to be entertained by any such histrionics.
Well, he was legal, but illegal because Lucio Cinti was in the way, so didn't roll away, which meant that any action from Owen Farrell to steal the ball is illegal. And Saints, no interest in the 3 points. I mean, it's a tough one, but because Cinti is on the wrong side, as much as he's trying to get out the way, his position influences the play.
Curtis Langdon gets it in on his first Premiership start for 10 months, 10 metres out from the Saracens line. They take it in field, but still haven't really crossed the gain line, Northampton Saints. And in fact, in the tackle, it was lost by Langdon. It went backwards, but the first man to jump on it was Inyama Christie. And he's got it back in the hands of Saracens, who boot it downfield. It's going to dribble all the way into touch on the 10-metre line inside Northampton Saints territory. And that little handling error from Langdon has turned into decent field position from the home side.
Well, that's twice now Northampton have been into Saracens 22 and twice they've been denied. So from a Saracens point of view, it's excellent defence. Didn't quite see rip the ball from Curtis Langdon, but again, these interventions will just fuel that Saracens energy.
Archie McParland from the Northampton Saints lineup just wants to send another crashing bunch of forwards into the middle of the park. The next one's going to be Ed Prowse, who signed a new contract in January for the side. Oh, but now they're breaking through again. Josh Kemeny, the Australian was it, who came through the gap. Tiptoes inside the 22. Northampton Saints with their tails up again, and Saracens having to get their defensive line in action. 15-metre channel, 2. Over 6 minutes here as Saints come through, looking to put it through the hands. They might have just found a way to straighten up and get through and score the game's first try. Celebrations in. They managed to unpick Saracens simply in the end. Tom Litchfield was it, who's managed to find a way through. But that was just simple numbers, and Saracens finding they were short-staffed.
They're such a good team to watch play rugby. Just flooding the gain line with numbers, making it possible for defenders to know which player to take. And then even the final passage of play that leads to the players attacking the spaces in between defenders. Some really crisp handling. There was an overlap, and then just can they pick the right...
Back three here. It's been really well dealt with. James Ram has ended up with his hands on it. Sends it away over to the right-hand side, just outside the 22. Farrell was well positioned, doesn't allow the ball to hit grass. Signal to Elliot Daly to chase this, coming down on the Northampton Saints 10-metre line. It was backwards off Saints, but Daly was right there to gather it up. And now the chip over the top from McFarland, but that is not going to work because it just sinks down safely in the 22 hands of Finn Smith. Just under 10 minutes gone is Northampton Saints leading in the showdown in the Gallagher Prem on TalkSport 2 by 7 points to 0. Farrell from the kick that was taken from the mark. He sent that upfield, but Saracens guilty of knocking it on. So Northampton Saints have a bit of time to play with it here as Tommy Freeman gets in. Hasn't had ball in hand to speak of yet, but helping secure ball at ruck time. This is a little bit more width from Northampton Saints again, and their awareness of where the Saracens' back three are is exceptional. Furbank has threaded that on the diagonal through into the 22. I think it was passed back into the half, so he's not going to get the full 50-22, but he certainly was able to nudge it from there.
I think he is.
Oh, he is, you're right.
It's a brilliant kick. I mean, from the moment Saints got their hands on the ball, they only had one thing in their mind, which was run, move the ball burst to the space, manipulate Saracens' backfield, and then open up the kick space. And brilliant kick by Furbank, and Saints back on the attack in that Saracens 22.
Rory Hutchinson has a mischievous way about him today. It's Pollock who then comes on the next crash ball, and Northampton Saints find themselves 6 metres out again. It's played quickly through from Green. 5 metres in from the left-hand touchline, 5 metres from the line again. Curtis Langdon plays it. Finn Smith had to be a chicken wing offload, and I think as Furbank tried to gather that, his right hand has just knocked it forwards, and that will take the sting out of that particular attack.
It does, but just having a look at that Saracens pack at the moment, they are just doing 50-metre sprints back and forth, and only in the 12th minute, but definitely coming up for air, because it's just been wave after wave of Northampton attack. Henry Pollock with a line break, and takes every ounce that Maro Itoje has got to stop him.
Interesting few months for the Saracens skipper and Six Nations campaign. You might look to come back to the warm, comforting bosom of your club, and it's a club that go and ship 60 points down at Bath, and you come into a high-pressure, supposedly big home occasion, knowing that you need a response and that the league leaders are in town.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we're kind of in this rebirth of Saracens, for want of a better word. I'm sure there is a better word, but yeah, we're so used to them being... We'll take it. They're so used to being at the top table, actually being off that for a couple of years. It's different.
You say off that, it was a little off from Farrell in terms of the touch finder. It didn't make it from the penalty that they had inside their 22. So now all it's done is open up in midfield. That brilliant sleight of hand from Finn Smith, and on the shoulder is McParland. And the Northampton Saints halfbacks have combined beautifully and cruising over the 10-metre line, having kept the ball alive. It came from the error from not finding touch from Saracens, and Northampton Saints find themselves with the second try of the afternoon and a 12 points to nil with nearly 13 minutes played.
Again, you talk about the mistakes just coming in for Saracens. It was a missed touch by Owen Farrell. Saints bring the ball on the counter-attack to the middle of the park, and then just the weight of numbers. So if you get a chance to watch this back at home, Saints flood to one side of the pitch with so many numbers that Saracens defenders just don't know who to take, to the point where Finn Smith, one pump fake, another pump fake, and the gap just opens up because Saracens can't come forward to get the Saints attackers. They're all moving sideways. He's got so much time to assess. Do I pass? Do I pass? No, there's a gap. I'll run through it. And then first thing you do, you look on your right-hand side or your inside. Hopefully your scrum half is there. McParland was. Saints 14-0 up, 14 minutes played.
Restart goes back into the 22 with possession from the restart. Saracens have not been in this game yet at all. Finn Smith again, lovely wraparound as they play out of their 22 now. Over on the far side, it was Curtis Langdon who was lurking like any cheeky hooker on the wing. 10 metres, or 7 or 8 metres I'd say, from outside their 22. This is McParland to box kick this into the air, and it's going to invite the man on his 100th appearance, Elliot Daly, to come forwards and take it. While he rides the tackle, he'll offload from the right hand into midfield. And there's a real wrestle for possession. Saracens, they fluffed that, it's gone forwards, and they are just not quite on it. Interesting when you talked about the defence just drifting back a moment ago, Topsy. When you speak to defensive coaches, when teams are under pressure, they don't feel like they've got the confidence. You can find that people think, well, we'd better be careful of what's coming, so let's just start to drift back so that we don't overcommit. What that actually ends up being is a retreating defensive line rather than a combative one that's trying to shut you down, and that certainly seems to, a couple of times, seems to have been the sort of psychological blow that this Saracens team are going under at the minute, which is backing off teams.
Yeah, and it's kind of a snowball effect. So first, if you lose the collision in the contact and you're on the back foot, and then the ball speed from the ruck is quick, no defence has time to get set. So it's what we've seen so far with Saracens. They don't have time to get set. The ball speed is so quick that they now have to, okay, we've just got to take our medicine and go a bit softer. But that then invites the attack to run at you, to pick holes. So they get one quick ruck, they get another quick ruck. The attack is always going to win in those situations.
It's a Northampton Saints scrum. 20 metres in from the right-hand touchline, just inside the Saracens' 10-metre line. The referee is just resetting this scrum. Archie McParland, the scrum half, has already looked back to Finn Smith to just be sure of what the call is going to be. Litchfield has actually taken a position more in the 12 channel than Hutchison, who's switched outside him. They will do that. Numbers on their backs are fairly inconsequential for Northampton Saints. As McParland now, as the scrum goes together and hits the deck again. Well, it's penalty. The straight arm goes up from Anthony Woodthorpe, our referee, and he's losing his patience with Saracens at the scrum.
Northampton would have loved that ball to come out. They were looking at this left-hand side of the scrum and it looks so inviting, but they will take the penalty. I think Finn Smith would have loved more distance on that kick, but they are back in the Saracens 22 again, looking for a third score.
16 minutes played in the showdown. Gallagher Prem on TalkSport 2. Nick Heath alongside Topsy Ojo, and it's Henry Pollock who makes the most of the spoils at the back of that line out. And Hutchison dancing in left, eventually scragged by Maro Itoje, the Saracens and England captain. Saints 10 metres out here. McParland loads off to the right. Not quite able to get past the Saracens wall that time, but then the ball is for Northampton Saints front rowers to try and do the job. Another one of those will be Langdon, but he sends it away. Such are the carriers and the threat from Northampton Saints. It's just pulling those Sarries defenders in, and the space just loitering on the outside shoulders. Easy for me to say. George Furback then with the next carry, 10 metres out. Pollock's arrived on the left side, just him and James Ram on that side, but they opt to go back in, does McParland. Into the middle, the carry from Tom Lockett goes straight to ground. Started for England A in November, Lockett, but now they're trying to make the numbers over on the right-hand side. Try to make them tell, but it just floated a little too far for them to be able to make that one stick. Into touch it goes.
Oh, Finn Smith would have loved this one back. It's a try-scoring pass, and Rotimi Shegun, defending on that far left-hand side, has done well. He's coming off his wing. He's forced Finn Smith to throw the pass over the top, and actually because Josh Kemeny is just in off the wing, Finn's had to go higher and he's not been able to get it to him.
Good win at the line out from Lockett. Got just the tap down that one needed. And it's there for Yogan. Pollock then with the carry. Pollock with good footwork, but it's not going to be the score despite the cheers. Obstruction, the call from the referee. And everybody's favourite hero, villain, comedy character won't be the one to get the try. And the Saints travelling fans that would have loved to have cheered that will not see it happen.
Well, they don't agree with the call, but it is the right one, absolutely. Henry Pollock running behind Tom Litchfield, gets in the eye line of Lucio Cinti, and Saracens breathe a sigh of relief.
Shegun comes in from the left wing and becomes the receiver just around the edge of the line out. This is a decent chance for Saracens coming forwards. There haven't been too many of those. Elliott did well to stay inside from the right side, and this is Saracens over the 10-metre line in Northampton Saints territory and running with a little bit more purpose, more than we've seen all game. Daly able to feed Itoje outside him as they make metres just over on the left-hand side. And Yama Christie looked to dummy it, then takes it to ground. Bracken. Farrell nearly managing to break through. Tompkins, quick hands from Daly. Cinti always looked to try and step Furback right on the touchline, wasn't able to, but you could see the threat of the Argentine. And it's still with Saracens, yet to fire a shot, down 14 points to 0 as we approach the first quarter of the match. Daly looking to get on the outside of Finn Smith, then sends it away for Shegun. Shegun comes back in, steps out of 2 tackles. He's got away from Henry Pollock as well. They haven't crossed the gain line in a couple of carries though, Saracens. Still a little bit more depth on this. Then Farrell, the missed pass. Trying to keep it alive. Likes a Reece Carey involved. They have still managed to do so. Then it's tapped back down for Tom Willis, the man ahead of so many of the stats in the Gallagher Prem. Defenders beaten, carries, offloads. Top after round 11, Tom Willis. Cries of Sarries begin to ring around Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. A visit to the Northampton Saints 22 with possession. And they've won themselves a penalty as well. That's more like it from the home side, Topsy Ocho.
Absolutely, the first time they've had some sustained possession. Managed to get up ahead of team, some big carries. Tom Willis heavily involved. I mean, we've not said his name enough, and tells you the story of this game so far. Reece Carey as well. Starting to get a rumble on, bouncing defenders off. A couple of offloads in there as well. Sarri's now looking for the killer blow, going to the corner, no thought of 3.
Well, earlier, Finn Smith didn't quite get the nudge into the 22 he wanted. Saracens have certainly got every metre up to the 5-metre line here for this line-out opportunity. Theo Dan, 15 tries in his last 23 Prem starts, and he latches himself onto the back, but it goes to ground, so Saracens will have to play this a different way rather than drive it over, and driven back is what they are initially from Northampton Saints. A little casual almost from Owen Farrell, as perhaps he was waiting for the picture to clear itself, but it's just going to be the strength of Tobias Elliott on the right wing, who was fed a quick ball from to come in and bounce away the final defender, but he managed to do so, and Saracens are on the board. The right winger getting his second or third try of the season. Finally, they get over, and the home fans have something to cheer about.
Sarah's finally back on the board, and they just needed some possession. Needed a bit of possession in the right area of the pitch. Under penalty advantage, so Elliot Daly throws a speculative pass, but Elliot picks it up off the bounce, bounces off a couple of Saints defenders, and he's in for Saracens' first score. Really good response.
Owen Farrell stands over this conversion, which is half a metre inside the 5 metre channel, right on the 22. He struck it beautifully, and that goes straight through the uprights. 7 on the board from Saracens, and it's one of those games where, with approaching 23 minutes on the clock, 7 points being the difference, given how much we've seen from Northampton Saints, it's suddenly not a bad place for Saracens to find themselves.
Absolutely not. Been under pressure so much in this opening quarter, so 14-7 for them actually is a positive result, but they'll want to build on that first score now they've got themselves back in the game.
Man they can rely on to give them some of those key meters. Tom Willis then with the carry from the restart, heading to Bordeaux next season, of course, having been linked to Lyon, Bayonne, Newcastle, the Japan League, anyone's league. Why wouldn't you be after a man of his quality? It's been tapped forwards, was it? No, backwards, says the referee. So just inside their half, Northampton Saints, top of the Gallagher Prem, with this visit to North London, the showdown. Several thousand in the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Now Pollock, he's going a lot further backwards than he is forwards, and Saracens are giving chase, and all he did was find the abrasive shoulder of one Owen Farrell. And Maro Itoje has got in on the next tackle. And on their own 10-metre line, Archie McParland is going to try and stick this forwards, but Nick Tompkins was clearly in an offside position when he jumped up off the ground to shut that one down, and you're not really allowed to do that.
As we've heard, clearly part of the ruck. Just couldn't help himself, instinctively went to charge down the box kick, and that it's a get out of jail for Northampton because they were under a lot of pressure. 4 of them hunting down Henry Pollock on that last carry, and Saints will be grateful for a line out just outside the 22.
It was like a few greyhounds after a hare, that, wasn't it? The temptation to get one. Get a hit on Henry Pollock, love it. Hit that time is put on Ed Prowse, playing for his boyhood club. Nowhere else he'd rather be, and it is his boyhood club who are going nicely through the motions. They were doing pretty well there. Sarries have actually ended up scooping up the loose ball and kicking it downfield. It's George Furbank who finds himself 10 metres from his own 22. Left-hand side of the field. 25 minutes played in this first half. Saracens 7, Northampton Saints 14 in round 12 of the Gallagher Prem. Call was always that Elliot Daly was inside his 22 when or inside his half, was it, when he cleared the ball? Inside his 22, I think was the call. Heel was on the line, you can hear from Anthony Woodthorpe, despite the protestations of Northampton Saints.
What though, Northampton not far away from a third score. Another line break, just couldn't find that next pass, which would have been the try-scoring pass.
Beyond 15 and broken away.
Tom Pearson
Tackle now, Sarries, let it go.
makes some key meters. Halfway line, McParland. He's put that up in the air for it to be contestable. Been well taken by Elliot, Saracens try-scorer. Pollock with the tackle on Farrell. He's got over to get the ball as well. It's not going to be the penalty because he's come up with the ball. Back with Saints. Itoje's lost his footing in trying to get one back as well. There is Tom Pearson pirouetting through the gap. The ball back inside. Oh, it's brilliantly taken on the fingertips by McParland, but that little chip through from Hutchison is going to be too heavy from 30 metres out. It dribbles over what are quite short dead ball areas, or try-zone areas, whatever we call them. And that's gone a little dead.
think he'd like that one back. The space looks inviting, but I don't think Tommy Freeman was quite ready, quite expecting the kick. If it stays infield or you force Saracens to play it, yes. Unfortunately, it goes dead. Been a really good start, though. I think Saints came out flying out the blocks, looking really ominous, and you thought, right, are we going to get a response from Saracens? But Saracens almost dug in, stayed in the fight, got their awards, and now we're into a really good game. Both teams showing some really good stuff.
9 tries Saracens conceded last week. Northampton Saints had quite enough right at home to bottom club Newcastle last week as well, but they are still top of the table. They overcome that one 28 points to 27 in round 11. Now, Northampton Saints have just been forced into a change. Manny Yogan has left the field. Danilo Fischetti has come on.
One to keep an eye out on, because it's a long time for a loose head prop.
Started every game in the Guinness Six Nations for Italy, Fischetti. And the scrum that we have has fallen apart. And so Anthony Woodthorpe is going to continue his afternoon or evening of resetting scrums. 27.5 minutes. Saracens 7, Northampton Saints 14. Our last of 3 live Gallagher Prem games on TalkSport 2. What a day it's been. Results elsewhere. Bristol getting that win against Saracens, against Quins, I should say. Bristol losing out 14 points to 18. Newcastle 14, Exeter Chiefs 38, Gloucester 17, Leicester Tigers 36. Other results in the Gallagher Prem today. Harlequins unexpectedly getting that result down at big day out. Saracen scrum. Elliot Daly started on the run on the far side and somewhat seemed to leave the ball behind. Did he know they were under penalty advantage? And he better have done.
Well, benefit of the doubt, I'm sure he did. I'm sure he did. But to that previous point, if you're Saracens, you're thinking, right, we can turn the screw in the scrum. That's one straight on the first scrum with a replacement loose head prop. So actually, if we get into a bit of an arm wrestle, that's definitely somewhere where they will feel now that they can get an advantage.
Saracens having been a bit shell-shocked over the first in this area to try and get another score on the board before we go into the sheds. Farrell sends it into touch for the line-out.
There's that scrum pressure that we talked about. Saints are going to need to figure out how they deal with this because the pressure is coming, so they're going to need to have quick scrums, get the ball in and out, but first they need to defend this line-out.
In from Theo Dan. Line-out becomes the maul. And now there's a penalty advantage being played to Saracens. They've got a chance to do something with this. The line from Elliot Daly was trying to come through a gap that Owen Farrell wanted to find. It didn't work out. They now find themselves outside the 22, and referee Woodthorpe will bring them back all the way over to the corner position, where the maul collapse is a penalty.
One's a scrum though, I take your point.
Itoji comes in and starts to ask the referee about the frequency of penalties in this area. You may have heard Anthony Woodthorpe say they were all slightly different, but I take your point.
They are, but it's persistent infringement in a point-scoring area, and look at this now. Not going for the corner, going for the scrum.
Well, they certainly sense they're getting the ascendancy in this area. Curtis Lang.